Erica and Sharon are sisters who began their grief journey in 2006 when Erica's 10-year-old son Austin drowned. Together, they participated in a grief education program, were so moved by this experience, they studied and became specialists so they could help the brokenhearted find recovery. In 2015, tragedy struck their family once again when Erica's oldest son Donovan was killed in a motorcycle accident. Erica and Sharon are committed to sharing their experiences of love, loss, and healing through this podcast. Now your grief specialists, Sharon and Erica.
What happens when your grief turns into anger? Why is it okay for us to talk about anger and grief in the same sentence? And the other thing that I realized is that a lot of people don't think that they're allowed to be angry. And so they resist the feeling of anger when they're grieving for fear that it would offend the other person. It'll offend someone else in the room. And sometimes when we're working with the griever, Erica, and I say, this sounds like you're really mad. Who are you mad at? They're almost relieved to have us say that. Thank you. Yes, I'm really pissed. And here's why.
I think that goes with all of the misinformation that's out there about grief. You know, everyone always talks about the sadness. You're so sad. You're so sad. You're depressed. You're sad. You're sad. You're sad. You're sad. No one talks about our ability and our need to be angry.
Yeah.
When you experience a grieving event, it's normal to feel like you've been robbed. You've been robbed of the relationship, of an opportunity, you know, whatever it is. It's natural. Anger is one of our core emotions that you would feel angry about it. And there's nothing wrong with it. It doesn't make you a bad person or mean that you didn't love whatever it was. It's normal. We're human.
And I think that because it's one of the 5 stages and it's on there, some people who do not understand the Kubler-Ross stages, which have nothing to do with grief of the griever, the actual griever, think that at some point they're supposed to be at the anger, or anger should naturally go in. And then there's others who don't know the stages and don't get this whole anger thing. And I feel like it's more of a resisting at times.
Yeah, because it's not clear. Because the 5 stages are essentially the griever's guide that society has allowed to be put out there, people don't understand that it's a human emotion, that we could do it naturally. It doesn't have to be just because you read it in a book that you have to go step 1, step 2, step 3. Okay, now my next step is going to be anger. You could be angry at the very first minute that you get whatever the news is that's causing the traumatic event. It's just a natural reaction that we as humans emote.
But anger doesn't always come. It doesn't come with every grieving experience, because as you're sitting here talking, I'm trying to think of my personal grieving experiences that actually had to do with death. I'm talking about the ones that have to do with death. I didn't have anger with each one. Definitely with Donovan, I was mad that we had to do it again. I was mad that we had to do this again, that the universe set us up, that we had to experience this again, that I was back to planning another funeral. That part. But was I mad at him? No. I was mad at the situation and confused. But anger wasn't one of the things that I experienced, even through my grieving process with him.
I was mad at him.
Yeah.
Completely mad at him.
Yeah.
Mad at him. I didn't feel bad about being mad at him. I didn't feel as though I had to apologize. Well, and I was so mad at everything and everyone. So it was like, even if someone had said, well, you shouldn't, I probably would have, chopped them in the throat. I just was mad. Again, like what you said, mad that we had to have another child buried, mad at the circumstances at which he died because I had been advising him against buying a motorcycle, mad at the whole situation of how it unfolded, and he ended up getting on the motorcycle because he was angry. So he was driving recklessly and out of anger. Mad at the whole thing, that I wasn't here. just so many levels of anger. And also the anger was my saving grace because I couldn't do any of the other emotions. I couldn't do the
Right.
sadness. I couldn't do the extreme longing that as a mother, you feel when you lose a child, the acknowledging how much I was going to miss him in my life every minute. I couldn't allow any of that. So what I could allow was anger, and it was like tenfold. It just came in tenfold.
So I'm trying to take you back to the very moment, right? So the funeral's over, you have this anger. Did you know it was anger?
Yeah.
You definitely knew it was anger. Did you call it anger?
I mean, I don't know if we ever talked about it. In myself, I knew I was mad. I was mad.
You're
I
mad.
was very mad at him.
Yeah.
Very mad at him from the get-go, from when I found out. And
Well,
leading up to him having the accident, we were kind of butting heads. So we were already in this place of conflict about his decisions that he was making that I didn't agree with. So I was already kind of living in this world of frustration with him. So the frustration just went to full-blown anger once he died.
And were you mad at other people in the room? What I may see by that? Were you mad at Lewis? Were you mad at us? Were you mad at
No, I knew where my anger was directed. It was all at him.
It was all towards him.
And I feel like, my journey on my faith journey has been very sporadic. We've talked about, we were raised Catholic, and Lewis and I are non-practicing Catholics, but we've tried different churches just to see how they go. And I was very mad at God, but I wasn't calling it out, and I wasn't talking about it. But when I talked to God, I would let him know I was very angry with him. So I was very angry with God because I'm having to experience this for a second time.
With I think that what happens with the grievers that are unwilling to share their anger,
Right.
it's almost like they're embarrassed. They're embarrassed to say, I'm mad at Donovan.
Right.
I like to say that out loud. Didn't you almost feel like you would have been judged? Like, what? How could you be mad at your son that died?
Not with us. I think if Donovan
not
had been
with me, but at a dinner party.
No, I mean, Lewis and I were both very open with it. Like we would say, and it almost became a little comical because like in our friends group, anytime anybody shared something and we'd say Donovan's name, like all of us would be like, asshole. Like, so we all kind of shared that anger and disappointment in him. And because he should be here, he should be living this Texas life. He would have been so handy in the snowpocalypse last week. Like,
oh yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, he should be here. Jordan's about to graduate high school. Donovan should be sitting in the stands as a proud brother that he was. So everyone has kind of shared in that. What I think the problem becomes is when people, like, they do feel ashamed about feeling anger.
Yeah.
So they won't connect with it, and they'll call it everything, this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
And then it takes a lot of teeth pulling with you and I getting them like, we recognize it's anger, but they're like, no. And then finally, maybe a year or two down the road, they admit that they're angry.
Yeah.
And then they seem so shocked by it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's hard to say I'm really angry at my 2-year-old that died of cancer. I'm really mad that I was robbed to having a typical child. It's hard to say that.
Yeah.
It's even hard I would imagine, to say I'm really upset with my 21-year-old who got on a motorcycle and, had an accident. Let me ask you a question about the anger. Did you allow the anger in and feel it 100%? Do you think you were allowing it in, or were you just stuck there?
I think I was just stuck there. I knew I was angry. I wasn't talking about it.
Yeah.
But at the times when I would break down and do the ugly cry, they were, it was like angry sobs, if that
Yeah.
makes any sense. And that's when I really would acknowledge that how mad I was in those moments
Yeah.
when I was having the breakdown. Because it wasn't like I used to have breakdown, ugly cry when Austin died, but it felt totally different. This was pure anger and like rage almost.
Yeah. And that was a question I was going to ask you earlier. Did you have anger with Austin when Austin died? Did you experience it then?
I just felt like when Austin died, it just wasn't fair.
Yeah.
But I didn't feel mad at anyone. I
Yeah.
just felt like it just wasn't fair. It sucked, and it was a total accident, and we were robbed, but it was like an unfairness. But when Donovan died, it was straight anger.
And here's my point of where I'm trying to get to. With Donovan, now that we look back, because you and I have grieved all that and we've worked it all out, when someone else is not willing to say this is anger or I'm mad or I'm upset, they also start blaming everybody else in the room.
Yep.
They get this thing where they're blaming, you should have done this and you should have been there. We see grievers that are like, why wasn't she there? I told her that this was going on. I told him that this was going on. Why didn't they help me? So instead of putting the anger where it really belongs, and sometimes that's with the deceased person, they make it everybody else in the room.
And that breaks my heart, because you see that play out a lot on like drama, like TV, where they have an accident or there is a child loss and the parents turn on each other and blame each other. But that's the thing, we're so fearful of placing the responsibility where it lies. And like you said, if you have a 2-year-old that dies of cancer, you can't blame the child. They didn't ask to get the cancer. But in that same regard, the spouse didn't give them the cancer either. So it's like, you got to be mindful and take accountability. It's okay to have the feeling, but don't go blaming everyone else in the room. Because if you think about it, it's like with Austin, when Austin died, people have said to me over and over, I can't believe you didn't hold those people that were there responsible. They were the adults. How would I do that? That in my heart hurts me. Yeah. Austin was with the people who loved him most in the world.
Yeah.
Who he loved most in this world. Any one of them would have traded places with him in a second. Why would I blame them?
Yeah.
And the fact that I know that they were probably carrying blame of their own, I would never add to that. That makes me sad thinking about that. I would never do that.
Yeah. Some of the research that I've seen on anger, how to deal with anger and grief, is to cry it out, write out an angry letter, do exercising, stay busy, keep moving. But none of them are saying, frickin' call it anger and say who you are angry at.
Right.
Say who you're mad at. Because what happens if you didn't come to the point, which Erica, you didn't come to that lightly, and say, I'm really mad at Donovan, the fault becomes everybody else's in the room, and you're not willing to deal with the exact part of the anger. And you would have enshrined him and made him out to be the best 21-year-old kid in the world, that this terrible thing happened to him, which was true. They both can exist at the same time. A terrible thing did happen to him. He did get on his motorcycle. He did have an accident. But it was okay for you to say, I'm mad. It's almost like when you said you were mad at him, like that the cork that was pushing the pain down got pulled out.
Right.
You acknowledge it, we pull out that cork, and then you can say, okay. It's a release that happens when you say
Absolutely. It. And that's like one of the podcasts we recorded previously. You can't heal what you won't feel.
Yeah.
So if you're not calling it anger and acknowledging that it's anger, you can't go through that process to get to the other side and do the work on it. If you're saying I feel bad and I feel this and you're working on that, it's like scratching. If you got a bug bite here, but you're itching over here, you're not going to get the relief that you need on that.
Yeah. Yeah. Here's the other thing. We have met clients, men, women, and children that have stayed in anger for years and never did anything about it. They never took care of it. They never allowed it. They never felt it. They never processed it all the way through to the end. They never processed it all the way through to the end. And it changes their life.
Yeah.
It changes the way you look at the world. It changes your present moment. It changes the way you are living your life.
Right. Yes, because if you harbor that and you're letting it out a little bit, but in the wrong way, you know what I mean? You're snapping at people, you're making people want to avoid you because you're so miserable. It's like that saying, hurt people hurt people.
Yeah.
You become that person and you don't mean it, but you don't know. You're so full of pain. You just want, misery loves company. You want to project that onto other people, make them miserable. So then you are all in this realm of confusion and terrible emotions. You have to do something to give yourself the relief that you need to mend your heart, to take that cork out, and then be able to unite with the ones you love around you.
And you need to be careful of who you take the cork out with.
Yeah.
Because not everyone would have understood you saying, I'm really mad at Donovan. Not everybody would have understood that. Actually, it could have turned into something really bad towards you. You know what I mean? Like people going, what? I don't get it. I don't understand it. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
That because they're not expecting us to say that. They're
Right.
not expecting us to say, I'm really mad and I'm really pissed at Donovan.
And that's actually the word that I used was pissed. I use it
Yeah.
all the time because mad didn't do it just. I was pissed
Yeah.
at him and I had to use that word. And when I used the word, it definitely let the steam out. And it was like, it's like when you get that right puzzle piece together, it fit and it felt right. And then I knew that's what I had to address.
But Erica, sometimes we don't want to be pissed at the person who's died, or we don't want to express our anger towards the person that's died out of fear that it's disrespectful to them. Well, they're dead. It would be disrespectful to them. Or the fear of being judged by others that we're going to go here. But we have to tell the truth.
Always.
And
Yeah.
we're telling the truth. And she took drugs and had an overdose. Some of that responsibility lays on her, not everyone else in the room. I mean, we have to give her the responsibility that she owns. If he went on the motorcycle and got in an accident and killed himself, we have to give him the responsibility that he owns,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's when we're not giving them the responsibility of the parts that they played that we can get stuck in that anger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And like you said, if we don't give them the responsibility and we make them the angel in the scenario, then we're misplacing all the responsibility and the feelings that we're having. And they, we never want to touch that because that was my baby and, he didn't mean it. And I know he didn't. I know there's not an ounce of me that does not think that Donovan totally regrets. When he first got to heaven, I feel like he was like, oh crap.
I'm in so much
I messed
trouble.
up.
I'm in so much trouble. My mom is really going to be pissed.
I believe that with my whole soul.
Uh-oh.
And I could just see our dad standing there like, you done done it now.
We're done it now. Come on, get over here. Let's go finish this gumbo. And Austin going, hey, let me give you the tour. Okay, here's the doggy area.
Exactly. Oh my God. All of that played out in my head. I know that he regrets that choice. I know that he would do anything in his power to be here if he could.
Yeah.
And that's when I knew the responsibility was on me to heal.
Yeah.
Because he didn't do it on purpose. I know he absolutely thought he was, Mr. Evil Knievel. I know I'm dating myself on.
Yeah, you are.
But he wasn't. He was a young, immature, almost 21-year-old, adorable, amazing child. And he just made a mistake. And that is what it is.
Yeah.
But it took a lot of work to get to that point.
It took a lot of work. Okay, so here's where I want to leave you guys with. If the anger is not taken care of, because sometimes we get asked, how long can this anger last? If it is not taken care of and you don't go after it specifically in a specific way, it will last a lifetime.
Yeah. And it will attack you physically.
Yeah.
You will start to have health problems. Anger,
Yes.
that feeling, if you're carrying it around, it's going to attack you physically. You have to do something to get that out to save not only your heart, but your body.
And the very first step is call it out for what it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's anger. And I'm mad at. You don't have to say it out loud to everybody in the room at the cocktail party, but you got to tell it to yourself. Got to tell the truth to yourself.
And it's okay. It's okay to be angry. It doesn't make you a bad parent, spouse, sister, child. It's okay to be angry. It's normal. And you're not doing anything wrong. You're not saying anything wrong. You're speaking your truth. And that's okay.
Yeah. Thank you, friends.
Bye, friends. Thank you. Hi, friends. Erica Honore here with Healing Starts with the Heart. Sharon and I are so glad you joined us for another great episode of our podcast. We hope you enjoyed this episode. We want to let you know for more information, you can go to our website at healingstartswiththeheart.com. There you will find not only today's podcast, but all of our podcasts, along with our blogs, the information on the programs that we offer, and the Griever's Guide, which is something Sharon and I put together to document how we came to be your grief specialists. We also have a quiz to take to identify if you are truly grieving. And if you want to talk specifically with either Sharon or myself, you can schedule an appointment there. You will also find a place to join our private Facebook group at Hope, Heal, and Recover. Thank you so much for being with us. Have a great day, friends.